Hello, I am Akanksha. I am Assistant Professor at the Department of Civil Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. I've got a PhD in Geotechnical Engineering. I teach, train, and motivate young minds to prepare them to meet the everyday challenges that they would encounter in the field of geotechnical engineering. My profession gives me the opportunity to make research collaborations with the other research institutes in India and abroad, and also with the industry to work on the innovative solutions for the real construction projects. As an academician, I've also got the opportunity to transform my innovative ideas into real startups. The incubation center in my institute provides infrastructure, seed funding, and mentoring to such startups. One of the many perks that I enjoy is to live in this beautiful campus. The magnificent building that you see behind me is the administrative building of my institute, whose foundation were laid in 1852. We'll be discussing about many such avenues in the field of geotechnical engineering in the upcoming DFI webinar, Education Beyond Classroom.
Hi, this is Akhila. I'm a senior geotechnical engineer with Keller. Right now, I'm at one of the job sites. It is in coastal Andhra, southern parts of India. You can see a farmland behind me, and this is paddy farm. And right beside, you can see vibro stone columns being installed. And we are installing the vibro stone columns right beside an existing railway track. So this stone columns will be supporting an embankment on which a new railway line is being built, and I am a design engineer for this project. Pretty proud to be a part of it, and I'm excited.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Civil Engineering Careers Connect and Grow Webinar 2, Education Beyond Classroom. Please note that recording of this webinar is prohibited. Online webinar recording will be available on DFI India YouTube channel in 2 weeks. Webinar 1 recording is already available on YouTube. The link is also provided on the chat box in here. Go to webinar attendee control panel, hide control panel to view clear screen, and show in full screen mode, just for you to know how to navigate through the control panel. And if you have any questions, please enter any of your questions in the questions box right here. Don't forget to add your name and organization's name here. For the attendees who are not familiar with Women in Deep Foundations group, I would like to start today with our mission statement: enhance professional development opportunities for women in the deep foundation industry. And this is again calling for both men and women to advocate, support, mentor women in deep foundations. The DFI Women in Deep Foundations Committee was actually established in 2015. I would like to give a shout out to Mary Ellen Large, Director of Technical Committees, who is actually part of this webinar. And she is actually the foundation of this group. This is a phenomenal group. I have gotten the opportunity to be part of this group for the last few years. In fact, members of this group have helped and thrust my career to be success in the last 4 years. This group is not just for women. It's for both men and women, and we need both to foster, support, mentor young engineers to success and also to retain in the industry. This committee actually organizes lectures, networking receptions during conferences, professional grants are provided to students, professors, and fresh engineers every year. These grant winners are also provided free registration to annual conference every year. This year, one of our grant winners is Akhila Mane, who is going to be our moderator. There are two regional chapters in USA. One is Pittsburgh, the other is Metro New York City. Pittsburgh is a great group of women engineers who support each other personally, professionally, and also mentor each other and organize small events once every quarter. Metro New York City is a fairly large group that also organizes two live events per year. Every event is unique, and the speakers come from different civil engineering background to share their story, their knowledge, provide tools for success. Due to the COVID pandemic, live events have not been possible. So some of the engineers from the group launched webinar series called Converting Crisis into Opportunities, Different Perspectives, which has been widely popular and successful. You can find the recordings of this webinar on DFI YouTube channel as well. Apart from this, Women in Deep Foundations Committee also supports industry, academia partnership through many professors who are DFI and committee members. Next slide. So to bring the same support and foster women engineers in India, DFI of India launched Women in DFI group during 2018 conference. Anjana Kadakia, senior principal of Thornton and Tomasetti in USA, director of India office, shared her story, challenges, mentors who helped her to be the leader in the industry. She left us with an important quote: do something you love and you will never work a day in your life. As a geotechnical engineer and being in this industry for so long, I can agree 100%. So our first event was at the 2019 conference. Women in Deep Foundations group organized a panel discussion on challenges for women in the industry. Dr. Yogini Deshpande with Renuka Consultant was the moderator, and she's going to be moderator for the session today as well. Important and noteworthy conversations to understand challenges for a civil engineer 50 years ago and today was discussed. How has it changed? What has helped industry change in the industry to accept more women? It was a robust discussion and also led starting a diverse group in DFI of India. Next slide, please. Since 2019, Women in Deep Foundation group has started a WhatsApp group. Through this group, we've been able to discuss many diverse topics, technical and non-technical side of the industry. We also support each other and share our experiences, be it in the field or in the office. Apart from this, we also encourage our members to apply for DFI's professional development grants that is given once a year. Today's webinar started as a conversation between Dr. Yogini Deshpande and myself. It was made possible through this wonderful, passionate, and amazing members. I would like to thank the core members of this group. So now let's dive into the webinar too. Let me introduce the moderators today, Dr. Yogini Deshpande and Akhila Mane, who are the core members of the Women in Deep Foundations group. I met Dr. Yogini, as you heard me say, a few years ago, 2019. And since then, and Akhila Mane was also at the same conference, and since then, we have become inseparable. We have to talk to each other once a week or once every other week. It's become like a support group for all of us. So Dr. Yogini Deshpande holds a PhD in civil engineering from Purdue University. She holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering and master's degree in geotechnical engineering from Mumbai University. Prior to pursuing a PhD, she worked as a research fellow at the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, Department of Defense, India. She has been the recipient of the 2006 Fellow of International Road Federation and 2006 Best Teaching Award at Purdue University. Today, she is a well-known consultant practicing engineering and educator in the field of construction and infrastructure engineering. She has extensive research and application experience in development of high-performance concrete, by waste utilization, recycling of concrete, and development of small materials. She has taught in Michigan Technology University and University of Alabama in USA. She has published over 40 research papers, given 100 talks in many international conferences. She currently heads Renuka Consultant. And she just said this to us few weeks ago. The road to success is always under construction. How true. Akhila Mane is a senior geotechnical engineer at Keller Ground Engineering, India, Chennai office. She holds a master's degree in civil engineering from International Institute of Information Technology, Hyderabad, India. Her core interests are in heavy foundations, seismic site characterization, and numerical modeling of granular materials. Prior to working in the industry, she worked on the seismic microzonation of an Indian city during her master's, which was published in Geotechnical Letters. She has authored about 20 technical papers and a book chapter. And my favorite thing about Akhila is her smile. It's very infectious and it puts you in the mood. Thank you, Akhila and Dr. Yogini. I'm going to give the webinar to progress to yourself, and please continue with the introduction of the panelists. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucky, for the lovely introductions. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I hope at the end of this session, you have a good takeaway on career options in academia. To start with, I will be introducing our panelists today. Dr. R. Chitra, who's graduated from the Government College of Engineering, Tirunelveli, Tamil Nadu, and she did a post-graduation and PhD from the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Presently, she's working as a Joint Director at Central Soil and Material Research Station, Department of Water Resources, River Development, and Ganga Rejuvenation, Ministry of Jal Shakti. She has 33 years of experience in the field of geotechnical engineering pertaining to water resources projects. Her experience in planning, guiding, and execution of geotechnical investigation works for River Valley projects has spread to over 335 projects within India and neighboring countries such as Nepal, Bhutan, Afghanistan, and Myanmar. Her interests include hydropower development, earth and rockfill dams, problematic soils, risk assessments of dams, numerical modeling, ash containment systems, geosynthetics in water resources, artificial neural networks, and quality control of hydroelectric projects. She's published over 235 technical papers in various international and national journals and conference proceedings. She's an expert committee member of major dam safety review panels and technical advisory committees of various dams and irrigation projects. She's also a member of various committees of national repute like BIS, IRC, etc., and her contributions towards formulation, review, and updation of various Indian standard codes are substantial. She's a recipient of many awards from the geotechnical fraternity for her extraordinary contributions to the geotechnical engineering field. I hope we learn many aspects about future careers in academia as well as research from Dr. R. Chitra. Over to you, Akhila, for further introductions.
Thank you, Yogini. Thank you, Lucky, for the introduction. I would like to introduce Dr. Akanksha Tyagi. First of all, thank you so much for accepting to be one of the panelists today. Dr. Akanksha has a PhD from National University of Singapore. She also did a master's from IIT Bombay and graduated undergrad from G.B. Pant University. She was a BTech gold medalist. So prior to becoming an assistant professor at IIT Roorkee, where she's working right now, she also worked in the industry at Keller Foundations in the Singapore office as a design engineer. So Dr. Tyagi's research interests are in situ ground improvement techniques, geotechnical constructions in or over admixtured stabilized soft soils, spatial variability of this admixture stabilized grounds, and remediation of contaminated soils. So she, apart from her research interests, she's also a passionate teacher, a dedicated researcher, and she would like to motivate young minds and motivate them to be a part of the geotechnical world. She is also a young liaison member from India for the Young Member Presidential Group, ISMG. I welcome you, Akanksha.
I would like to start off our panel discussion with a little bit of an introduction about their journeys. Why did you choose to take your undergraduate in civil engineering, Dr. Chitra? If you could tell us a little bit about the motivations behind it and the motivation to do your PhD.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Actually, when I was young, a kid, I was always fascinated about the aeronautical engineers whom I used to see in the pictures with the suits and the helmets, and the civil engineers with the helmet with the light and the leveling equipments and all. So I wanted to become either the aeronautical engineer or civil engineer. So because the college I have opted with didn't had the mechanical engineer for the girls, so I had to take civil engineering. And with the interest developed by my mentor who taught me the soil mechanics, Professor Subramaniam Pillai, I started loving the subject of soil mechanics. And immediately finishing my graduate in August 1987, December, I got a job in Ministry of Surface Transport, and I was working for the Inland Waterways Authority of India, and working for the sedimentation studies of the mammoth rivers, river Ganges and the Brahmaputra. And I was the first one who was asked to set up the research division with new equipments which was imported from the Delft Hydraulics. And I was very lucky enough in December 87 itself to set up the soil mechanics laboratory for sedimentation study with the experts from Delft Hydraulics. So I was so blessed, and I started loving the soil mechanics more and more. Then I changed from surface transport to Ministry of Water Resources. There I was posted in soil dynamics, but I was the setting up the laboratory of miniature size of what I had worked in my graduation, which was a big triaxial cell, big single one, doing 4 different tests for 4 different period, but the miniature version with the back saturation system and the compressors and everything. So every time when I was introduced by all these experts, they have added my love for soil mechanics more. So when I joined Ministry of Water Resources, I was posted in soil dynamics. I didn't like it. The first day itself, when I met my boss, I said I wanted you to post me to soil mechanics. So he said, okay. Then he took me to the soil mechanics lab and asked me to work in that. So there my graph started, and I started loving this soil mechanics and foundation engineering subject more and more, and especially the kind of problems and kind of material non-availability for the construction of mammoth structures like embankment dams or earth and rockfill dams. I started loving it more. How to even today for finding solutions to each kind of geotechnical problem, we have to squeeze our mind and put more energy into it. And we are working like a team. Then I thought, okay, my office is next to IIT, so I should not waste my time. So I have to sharpen my knowledge in the geotechnical engineering. So I joined the MTech in geotechnical engineering in IIT Delhi, and I finished it. Immediately after that, I wanted everybody to call me as Dr. R. Chitra. So, and because it is not a mandatory requirement for my job to be a PhD, but I wanted to do it more because landslides and slope failures are very common. So as a MTech student and a practical engineer, I was working with the slope failures. So I designed landfills and the ash ponds. So that gave me the interest to continue with the PhD, to do more research and research. So I joined PhD, and I'm very happily being called as Dr. R. Chitra. and working in geotechnical engineer. I am proud to be a geotechnical engineer working for almost 33 years in this field. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction, Dr. Chitra, about your journey in civil engineering. Dr. Akanksha, if you could tell us a little bit about your motivation to do your PhD.
Hey, hello, Dr. Yogini and Akhila, and thank you for such a nice introduction. Hello, Dr. Chitra, and it was very interesting and motivating to listen to your journey. Well, for me, if I remember correctly, in my school days, there was this, series used to come in Discovery Channel, mega structures. So I got fascinated by this mega structures, and so in my engineering, I wanted to get into civil engineering, and I got it. And um, well, for the higher studies, I think since my mother is a retired teacher, so maybe it has something to do with the genes. So I recognized in my early years that I was passionate about teaching, and I used to love motivating people. And so that's why I choose to do masters. And the reason behind doing masters was also to expose myself to a to a bigger institution like IIT. So fortunately I got into IIT Bombay, and that is actually the stepping stone. I must say that it reinforced my concepts, and it provided me the exposure to connect with so many people, and I was exposed to better opportunities in the world of geotechnical engineering. And after that I applied to universities, and because of IIT Bombay only, I think I got into National University of Singapore. And I must say that PhD was a life changing experience. PhD is not a degree, it's actually a training. After PhD, you are actually transformed into a different person. And I was fortunate that my supervisor, Professor Lee Fuk Hao, is a very learned person, and he didn't even not only taught me the technical concepts, or about he didn't even not only I became a better researcher after doing PhD, he trained me to become a better professional. So I think after PhD I came with a more like a stronger mind, with a lot of patience. And uh, after doing my PhD also, I was a little bit sometimes you think, like, after 5-6 years of PhD, you think that whether should I go and try in industry once. So that's why I joined Keller Foundations in Singapore. And I must say that industry is quite fast paced, and I learned a lot of things. In PhD we work on a set of problems, so uh, we generally work on deeper aspects of that problem, but in industry we are exposed to variety of problems. So that's why I must say that that also I learned quite a lot. But then after like 1 year down the line, I realized that my heart always lies in academia. And so I came back, and I applied to IITs, and fortunately I got into IIT Roorkee, and I joined IIT Roorkee in July 2019 as assistant professor. Before that, I was also at IIT Bhubaneswar for a brief period of time, and but now I am in IIT Roorkee for 1.5 years. So I will say that my journey is actually has just started. I'm on first gear, I'm gearing up. So my journey has already has just started now. That's all I have to say.
You're on mute, Akhila.
Sorry. Thank you, Dr. Akanksha, for sharing your journey so far. So a small motivation like the dress, from the caps worn by civil engineers to the documentaries which we watch when we are kids, like, bring us a long way. So before we talk about how do you decide on all this? Like, how do you enter into it? We do have those questions for you. I would like to know, how do you think the academia or the research professionals fill the gaps in the industry? So this is what we would like to know first from both of you.
Dr. Chitra?
Yeah, I have to answer first. Okay. According to me,
we'll go like this, that we'll ask the question and you can answer first, and then maybe Dr. Akanksha can answer the next for
okay, that's yeah.
after you.
Academia and the industry goes hand in hand, because industry, they are practically they are working on problems, or they are manufacturing things, and they encounter with some kind of problem which is referred to the academician, and the actual research is done by the academicians, and the solution is provided and a path is given to the industry, and then industry will be going forward to it. That's what I always say. The industry and the academia go hand in hand.
So I completely agree with what Dr. Chitra said, that industry is fast paced, it's looking for quick solutions, but sometimes they are having some problems, and for which they need a team of experts, and they need people who can work on that problem deeply. So for that, where the academia comes, and for academia also, it's quite helpful, because now then we are also exposed to such different practical aspects. Otherwise, yeah, we are confined in our rooms. So and actually it's not new, it has been going on for decades, like industry and research collaborations, academic collaboration. So it is being going on for so many years, that we are having some industry projects, and then team of academic experts, they are helping out with the industry, they are doing work together. In addition to that, I will say that recently, the Department of Science and Technology and the Science and Engineering Board of India, SERB, that you call, they have also started various grants, like the SERB FICCI grant, which is initiation to promote industry relevant R&D with academics. So in that, basically the academics, they have to join hands with the industry partner, and then they have to submit the grant, and the industry also has to put the the financial help, and the problem will also come from the industry. So in that way, we both are working out on the problem which is of practical usage. So I think that's how we both are working together.
Yeah. Can I add one more thing? If the,
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Chitra.
Yeah, if the academician and the industry work parallelly without having any interventions between one another, the academician will be doing the research and which has no practical applications of it. So somebody has to make use of that for the benefit of the development of the nation only. So if the industry is going to develop things which is a one kind of thing without any advancement into it, there is no development at all. So for the development of every field, the research and the research through the academicians and the practical employers like industries should go along with each other. Sometimes academicians may give, you can work on this like that to the industry, and sometimes industry will be giving what all the problems they are facing with to the academicians, and they work on it and give a solution to it. So that's what it is in depth. Thank you.
A quick question to both of you, since we've talked about interrelation between the two. Dr. Chitra, can you both of you can give us one example which you probably have encountered, which has come from the industry, or that you have given back, researched and given back to the industry, a solution to the industry?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Like I'll relate to what I have been gone through and what I am working with, right? So since I'm working for the construction of the dams, geotechnical engineering, either the compatibility of the foundation or the compatibility of the material to be used for the construction of the embankments or dams, which I'm working, we have, truly speaking, we have exhausted with all the good sites and all the good materials. And public awareness is so high that nobody wants to give the land, the earth material for the construction of the structure. So we have to agree to accept the condition of the foundation and improve it. And especially if we have to construct embankment dams with the poor soil, with no solution to it, we have to avoid it. All the codes and every standard guidelines and all, they try ask you to avoid those kinds of problematic materials. But what to do? In the area like Himalayas, it is located in the highly seismic zone. In the northeastern part, if you say, it is with lot of landslide is there, and the organic soils are there. Organic soils you cannot allow. And if you go to Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh and in some part of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, lot of expansive soil are there, which is called as black cotton soil. How to go about the structure? So in Orissa, some part of 300-kilometer canal has been constructed, and for the past 30 years that is not put into use. The benefit 5 different states will be getting, but because of a 1 kilometer stretch of expansive soil, which makes the canal to fail again and again, that is not put to use, commissioned at all. So what we have to do? We have to do research on how to give a solution for that. How to use the soil, which is organic in nature, to make it usable for the construction of it. There comes you call it as research. What you will be adding. You are not, if it is situated in Sikkim, you are not going to take the soil from Delhi or Kashmir, from all the way from Delhi to Sikkim. You have to find the solution then and there only, because transportation is a very costly affair. So in the case of like that, you have to do research, and you have to search for the material, and anyway the construction will be done through the contractors only. How you are going to educate the contractors? How simple that procedures is going to be? You have to work on through your research, giving the optimum solution to that problem, and then address the thing. And these 2 projects which I am saying, we have allowed the stabilization of the organic soil and allowed Central Water Commission to construct this embankment using the modified stabilized organic soil. And this Orissa project, we have given the alternate material, excavating all the soil, expansive soil, because it was only 1 kilometer, and give the optimum percentage of more material. Which material? Those things through the research only we had to do. It's a routine work for us, but it is research. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, just I'll also add. So, for example, as Dr. Chitra already said that, then there are sometimes there are a lot of problems that are encountered by the industry, and also, I'll give an example. For example, the Rural Roads Authority or the Highway Authority, they look for cheaper materials for embankments. So because for embankments you have to use a lot of material. Also for backfills you have to use lot of materials. So if we use like good earth or some conventional materials, it becomes a very costly exercise. On the other hand, if you look at, there are industries who are fed up with the dumped wastes. There are mining waste, there are phosphoric industries waste, and these are being dumped. There are huge stockpiles lying over there, and industries fed up, they just want to like send this to the research institutes, you do something with it. And the best example is fly ash. In these last decades, fly ash has been used in embankments, but like fly ash, there are many other industrial wastes which need to be used in the construction industry, and that's where the research comes in. So basically, if we can give them the use of local available material. Okay, sometimes people use rice husk ash, and sometimes use if you have heard about phosphogypsum is also waste material from phosphoric industry. And not only India, or several countries around the world are dealing with the stockpiled waste for phosphogypsum. So basically, this is where the research comes in. Like, we can help to utilize that material for the research purpose. And when I say utilize, we also have to like look into the environmental aspects. We can't forego that because these industrial wastes, they also have some trace elements. So all these things, both the construction perspective and both the environmental perspective, they can be brought down by a researcher. So that's how, like, this is only just one example.
Thank you, Dr. Akanksha, Dr. Chitra. My next question to both of you is, as we jump into the others, what specialization, how should the students who have finished their BE degree now, how should they think in terms of, what specialization to opt for? Geotechnical, structures, environmental, the different transportation engineering, the different options that are available. So how can they decide? Would you suggest that they go work for a year or two and then make up their minds? Or do you see, do you look at the demands, where is the more demand, and opt for that kind of specialization?
Yeah, it's again an interesting question, and it will be very leading question for the students, I think, for deciding what kind of branches they have to take for their post graduation. In many folds we can say about this thing, because what is the while doing their BTech, in my case, I can refer to my case also. What in the BTech project, what I did was, since I liked the professor soil mechanics, because of him I liked the soil mechanics subject, I took my BTech project as a soil mechanics project only. It was correlation between the results which we are getting with the plate load test and other tests such as SPT and the cone penetrometer. So we were comparing for the clayey soil as well as the sandy soils as well, which we got the first prize for in Tamil Nadu technical education. We got first prize. So there lies my interest. I have to proceed on soil mechanics path. So one interest, while doing your graduation itself, you are developing an interest into a subject, and you decide that whether I have to work or go for higher studies. You can get the work. If you don't get the work immediately, job immediately, then go for post graduation. Don't wait for anything, and go for what subject is interested to you. Or if you got a job, if you decide to go for MTech, of course your interest in that particular subject, or wherever you are, you have got the job, that subject you can choose and then proceed further. You don't have to wait for, because I have waited for 10 years to go for my PTech because of my family situation. I got married while I was doing the just to finish my final year. But I had to wait for certain things, 10 years, but I was persistently thinking of doing MTech ever since I completed my graduation. So what is your perseverance? What you have to pursue, decide in your mind, and you have to proceed further. And the subject you choose should be very, very interested to you or connected to your job. Then you will develop, if you are deciding to do the MTech, then you will develop interest and you will excel in that subject. That's what my suggestion will be. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
I definitely agree with Dr. Chitra that you have to explore, you have to, think, you have to pursue your interest. And for the current generation, I will say that you have to be on your toes because the world is moving too fast. So, we have PMRF scholarships, we have Prime Minister Research Fellowships, which are for BTech students, so that after bachelor's you directly go and enroll to PhD degrees. So that is, and basically the idea is, that you don't lose years if you are, but for that, you have to recognize your interest. For recognizing your interest, you have to step out of your conventional zone, from the classroom teaching. So you'll have to go outside, step outside. You'll have to read, you have to explore, you have to attend conferences. How will you attend conferences? First you have to do some small project with some faculty, or you have to do some kind of internship. So when I did my internship in Delhi Metro Rail Corporation in bachelor's, I inculcated this interest in tunnels. I was so fascinated that in my PhD also, when I was asked which topic you want to do in your PhD, I said I want to do tunnels. I want to go in underground construction. So doing right internship is also, the stepping stone. Just don't do internship or projects, just for time pass, or just, for writing in your resume. That comes from these all things. They reinforce and they reinforce your knowledge. And that will also help you in deciding your specialization, because once you explore certain things, when move out of your shell, then you will get to know what are your interests. So I will say, if you are active, you have to be active, you have to be aware. You can directly go pursue your PhD. For me, I was in my bachelor's, I was not that exposed, at in just last decade, the good internet connection came in my university. The internet connection was not that good at 10 years ago, so we were less exposed. So I think when I did masters, then that thing provided me the exposure, and I got better opportunities. So in terms of selecting the universities also, I was like I made better decisions when I did masters. So both way it will work.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Akanksha and Dr. Chitra. My next question is to Dr. Chitra. So now that we spoke a lot on like how the first question, how the academia or research professional help fill the gap in the industry, because you work with a research institute, I would like to know what are the minimum qualifications or the skills required to look for a career in such a research-focused institute, and is PhD the minimum requirement? You have already answered that you have joined much before PhD, but apart from CSMRS, if you would like to join BARC, like Baba Atomic Research Center or DRDO or other organizations, is PhD a minimum requirement, and what is the minimum qualification required?
Yeah, thank you. For any research organization to start with, PhD or even the post graduation is not minimum requirement. The basic degree required is a bachelor's degree in civil engineering only is the minimum requirement. The desirable is MTech. Post graduation is desirable. We give importance to post graduation in geotechnical engineering or the concrete technology as far as my organization is concerned. Of course, PhD is not a requirement for that. But if you obtain the PhD degree, for getting the job, it may not work. But for working in the field of research organizations, whatever field you are working in, that is going to help you a lot. That is an added advantage for you to understand the thing and do research. For doing research, you need a focus, you need patience, you need multiple thinking, which you get after doing the PhD only. PhD teaches you to be patient, to not to get distracted, to focus in many things parallelly, how to arrive at a solution, how to finish the PhD even within a stipulated time with the overloaded works. And if you do a part-time PhD, then that problem is increased to many folds. So PhD is going to help you if you are doing continue to doing research, but it's not a basic requirement for getting a job in research organization. Okay.
So you reinforced the thought put up by Dr. Akanksha saying PhD is a training and not just a degree. So it trains you for what lies behind, what lies ahead. Sorry. So my question, another question to Dr. Akanksha. So how does having a PhD help in academia? So we have Dr. Chitra has answered how it helps in the research organizations, and I would like you to also tell us what are the skill set required for pursuing a PhD. So please go ahead.
Okay, so that's that. These are two questions, but actually these are interconnected. I think I would first like to answer your second question. So, what are the skill sets? To adding to what Dr. Chitra said, I think for a PhD, analytical skills are required. So, by analytical skills, if I Google, you will find that logical reasoning, critical thinking, communication, research, data analysis, and creativity. So these are few features, few characteristics of this, like which analytical skills is comprised of. Other than that, you should have perseverance, you should have self motivation. So I am not saying that you're doing PhD you should have all list of these things. You may have certain things in you, uh, and that you need to nurture along your PhD journey. You may not have certain things. For example, if I look at myself, I am a quite self motivated person. I am good at planning. But before PhD, I would say that I had little less patience. And after doing PhD, I became more patient. So and I think I've also developed an optimistic attitude. The quote I said, that tough times never last, but tough people do. This quote actually, this became my inspiration during my PhD days. So I think this kind of positive attitude and this your strong mind. What I'll say, that controlling your mind is also important. So I would say that when you say skill sets doesn't mean that you have to be very sharp, you have to be very intelligent, and uh, people say that can you write papers and all these things. I will say that if you have such qualities, you can definitely do anything in this world. And because if you have problem solving skills, you have self motivation, you have positive attitude, you can write technical papers, you can do PhD, you can do anything. So, answering to your first question was, how does PhD help in academia? In academics, actually, PhD is mandatory. And why PhD is mandatory? I can give from a very small example. When we watch like cartoons, like my 2-year-old son, he watches this fire engine cartoon. So the firefighter comes. Yeah, and then we have trust and faith on that firefighter because we think that he has gone through those experiences. So that in that way, students will only, like MTech student or PhD student will only have faith in me, he will only do research under me if I have gone through the same experience. So that's why PhD is the minimum requirement for the academia. It is required. And I think uh, since in academia, there is a general notion among people that sometimes it comes from the movies. You see boring professors, and some students think that the professors are only doing these classes, they are only giving lectures, like 2 to 3 lectures per week. But the job of academician is beyond that. It has to do with research, we have industrial collaborations, we have some administrative works. So for that, I think PhD plays a bigger role, because it prepares us to take bigger challenges in life.
So to
Yeah, that's
summarize, Dr. Chitra and Akanksha, from what you said, I understand doing a PhD requires the basic engineering skills, which all of us engineers are supposed to have. Apart from that, you need to have patience. So the attendees out there, if you are planning to do a PhD, so don't worry, just have patience. Over to you, Yogini ma'am.
I have in my list of questions, a couple of them actually got answered, in the past 2-3 of your responses. So I'm gonna jump to another question is, some sort of go back to how do you go ahead and deciding which topic to work on? We talked a little bit on that, but also on deciding the institute and the guide. I know many a times I get this, students write to me saying, "Oh, I've got into XYZ institute. Can you tell me which subject I should work on?" And I am at a loss to answer this question, because sometimes I don't even know the person who's writing to me. Obviously, they are reaching out because they have seen my work, and I try to tell them do what they like or what is available at the institute. So can both of you, Dr. Chitra and Dr. Akanksha, talk about how do you go about choosing the topic for your master's or for your PhD? How do you go about picking which institute, or which any guide, or how do you approach a guide? Some of these things.
Yeah, as far as women students are concerned, girls are concerned, the criteria prima facie is it should be close to your house. Okay, so but as on today, I think girls do not have any kind of such restrictions, but I believe they do have even today. So for the safety measures, they don't have much choice to play with. So, but you have to keep your eyes and ears open, and you have to read about the institute surrounding you. And the interest come when you do your graduation itself or when you are working. So at least some interest you should have on that. But some people I have seen, they choose a branch which is not at all of interest to them, but which has minimum pressure for pursuing that degree. Right? So, but if you want to have a good career in a particular branch of or field, you should have a passion to it. And you can develop it very well by reading. Read, and develop interest in it. If you read 1 time, 2 time, and read everything, read about the institute, read about the professor's profile, go through it. And for doing the MTech, you don't have to worry about the professors. But of course, institute ranking, even for doing BTech itself, our students are so smart enough. When they are doing +2 itself, they are searching about the quality of the institute they are going to be studying. So at this point of time, I think they are well aware of the institutes, and they can choose according to the field of work, and by ranking itself they can choose the institute and then pursue their degree of the subject which is either liked by their favorite or their field of working, where they are working, like then they can choose it.
Yes, I mean, Dr. Chitra basically gave the answer, just reinforcing it. Yes, I mean, what I did in my masters, because mine is, I will say, not so long back. It is like 2013. I did my masters. So basically, I maintained a diary, And what I did is, I used to, from these, there are many university rankings websites. So I will not say that you go on the rankings only, because sometimes these rankings, are based on various parameters. So, but those websites are good for shortlisting you. So maybe you shortlist 9 or 10 universities, and based on 9 or 10 universities, you go into the department, you go onto the professor's profile, and then based on your research, research interest, you read few of their papers. Okay. And when you read, that's what Dr. Chitra said, that you have to read first. So you have to read that, and then you try to contact those faculties. Academicians, sometimes they will reply you, sometimes they don't reply you, but what I have experienced, even if they don't reply, they somewhere your name, is there in some, in their memory, in their subconscious mind. So if another time, if you meet at some conference or somewhere, they sometimes recognize you. Yes, okay, yeah, you send me that email about that research paper. So how, this is how you make connections. So making connections is important when you are applying to the institute, because I'm not only talking about applying in India, I'm also talking about applying to abroad. So when you're applying to abroad, you do like this, like you have to contact the supervisor, you have to contact the people there, and you have to build the connections. As far as this India is concerned, then you have to give gate, and on the basis of gate, you are being called for the interviews. So deciding about the guide is totally lies on your research interest. Like I think you should decide the guide based on your research interest and not other things. Sometimes people think that they ask some seniors whether it will be a shorter or a longer duration and things like that. But I think PhD doesn't work like that, because PhD is not short term, it is for 5-6 years. You have to go a long way. And as Lucky rightfully mentioned, there was a quote that love what you do. So it's very important. So you should always decide your guide based on the research interest.
A quick, Akhila, just a quick, all the audiences, please send your questions. We will be taking up Q&A in another 5 minutes for the panel. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and send it to us in the chat box. Akhila, go ahead.
Thank you. So, Dr. Akanksha, to summarize what you said, it's not selecting the institute in which you would like to pursue your undergrad or post-graduation. It's the professor or the specialization you are interested in, and not just about whether the recruitment or the scope of your future after you pass out from the college is not important. So what you're passionate about and whom you would like to work with, and are your interests aligned, that helps you grow your knowledge, and then that eventually leads you to your future. Is that right?
I think yes, I think for bachelors and masters, institute do matter. Institute does matter. For PhDs, I think your guide, your work matters more. So just to summarize.
So you also mentioned that we need to go out there, research on what others are doing, and network with the professors or with the scientists out there. So I would like to ask both of you my next question. When you are a master's or a PhD student, how do you make future connections in the industry or with other scientists or researchers or faculty? So what would you help? And my next question would be, how do you nurture these connections? So not just forming the connection or meeting them, how do you nurture these connections when you're still a student? Please go ahead.
Yeah, Akanksha, would you like to answer first?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chitra. I mean, yes, as I feel that, as a master student, it's very important to build connections. As a PhD student also, it's very important to build connections. What I feel that sometimes students fail to understand, or they don't they forget, is that sometimes they just focus on the placement. So sometimes, they just do research for the degree, and they think that no, I'll be sitting for the placement, but they forget that for making connections, for making better connections, it is the work that plays important role. You have to showcase your work. And how will you showcase your work? Because you will have to do something good in your research. When you do something good in your research, you can showcase your work at different platforms like international conferences, national conferences, at different platforms, and that is how you make connections. If you just like if you just converse a person based just I am this and I'm working here, he may not remember you for long. But if you can showcase your work, it will have a longer impact. And that's why it plays a bigger role in developing connections. So basically, here where comes your sincerity. you know I mean, sometimes students think that take a shortcut and just sit for the placements, but they don't understand that if they want to have better placements, or they have they want to know the better career options, better connections, they have to first work. They have to first do a good research to build those networks. And that those networks, definitely that will help to nurture and better future prospects.
Yeah, so it's not just studying or focusing on your passion, it's also interacting with other people in your passion or in the industry you're in or you might be interested in. Dr. Chitra, please go ahead.
Yeah, I agree to Dr. Akanksha. And what I would like to add is, here again, for making networks, you need to read, read and read, and interact and interact and interact. And if you need to have networking of experts or professors or fellow students who are working on different subjects or same subjects, for that you need the networking. How you will be exposing yourself among in that platform? For that you need to, if you are deciding to do PhDs, then networking is required. If you opt to do jobs, then that is not essential. You can enter into the job and then make a network afterwards. But if you want to do PhD, you should have contacts and who are all the different experts working in what fields. So for that, while doing the BTech itself or BE itself, whatever projects you are working with, the final project, you end up a product like writing a small paper. Nobody is going to blow you up for writing a low level papers. Everybody would like to see the hard work put in by the students in writing the paper and doing that works. So rightly said by Dr. Akanksha, people are interested in placements only while they are in the final years. But instead, along with that, they have to write papers also. When you are not going to showcasing your talents, how people will come to know about you and your work? And in MTech, it is mandatory to write papers on the projects you will be working, because in MTech, in a good institute, they will be having minor projects and major projects as well. So you have the opportunities to write papers. You write and represent yourself for not only for showcasing your skills and to interact with people. Also, you attend different small conferences, big conferences. However, whatever conferences maximum you can attend, go. Not only for attending the conferences, in the conference also you have to be very active. You have to interact with the people, not only the fellow students, with the professors and the keynote speakers or any big shots. You go and just tell about you, what you intend to do. You get an idea what you have to put your career through, which path. You will get an idea through interactions only. If you are so introvert that you don't interact with anyone, then nobody is going to help you. You have to decide everything in your mind only, which will make you in a very not in a good path. I won't say. Some people decide themselves and they go on very successfully in their job only. That is why in the quote I had written, that is through it's my personal experience only I have put as a quote. Okay, so hard working is required. Take from the your college days. When we finish the +2, we say our effort and energy is going to be fulfilled, and we are getting a degree admission in the engineering college or the medical college. Our job is done. No, there the life starts. We are going to still now, after 33 years of experience also, I have to work hard and hard and hard, okay, for finding solutions to different projects in India and different countries. And I have to guide the people who are working under me also. I have to set an example. So for that, if I keep everything myself and I'm not disseminating the knowledge, or I'm not interacting with people, I get nothing. And if I don't give anything, I won't get anything. So that is why you have to interact more in the conferences. If you can attend some kind of training, go to the training, and the trainers will be very knowledgeable person. Interact with them. Through that, you will be able to achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah. So
I quite agree with you. Go ahead, Akanksha, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Akhila.
So the key is to learn, not just learn by yourself or from you have to learn from your colleagues, your peers, your seniors, your professors, and whoever is in the industry. So there's lots of scope to learn, and exchange of knowledge is very important. And that's how you build the network, you build your career, and you build your passion. And like you said, you continue to be in the same industry and you're motivated every day, even after 30 years of being in the same thing, working for the same thing. Yeah, thanks. Yogini ma'am, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Chitra and Dr. Akanksha. You've stated something which is, I think, very now appears obvious. So just sort of share my own experiences. My BTech project was on entity of concrete, which was in the mid-90s when I did my BE, and it was a very new thing at that point of time. The UPV, Smith Hammer, and everything. So I did my internship on something related to that, and I did my BTech project on that. In MTech, when I did my in Geotechnical, I did my MTech. I looked at the testing parameters for different rocks and soil in and around India and things like that. So, and eventually today, I run a consulting company which is primarily in assessments for different fields of engineering, civil engineering. So when I look back, it's very similar. So in my BE, I did a project which was related to testing. In my MTech, I did something which is again related to testing and an analysis of it. And so you pick up something which is of an interest to you, and you go on building on it. That is what is probably the key over there. And that can happen only if we have a continued thought process, not towards the job that we will get, but what we would like as a passion in our life. I would like to sort of ask my last question, and then we'll start taking the questions from the audience. Is especially when people do their PhD, how should they position themselves in the job market? What I have also seen is, and this sort of has happened with me myself, that we do a PhD, we may or may not want to go into academia, or rather I went into academia, I came out, and I am now in consulting. So what is it that both of you feel that how the PhD students should position themselves in the market post their PhD? Dr. Chitra.
Yeah, it is very difficult to answer this question because as I'm working in a research organization and a practical investigation, geotechnical engineering and concrete materials organization which I am working. Though doctorate is not mandatory for getting a job into government organizations, I feel that having a doctorate may not add something to it. But if it is a purely research organization, of course, like DRDO and BARC and all, a doctorate, PhD, possessing a PhD degree may help. And PhD in what subject, that also matters a lot for a particular getting other jobs other than the academia. Which field you are choosing and which organization you are applying for getting a job based on your doctorate degree is depends on what subject you have worked with.
Yeah, indeed, a very difficult question. I mean, when I did my PhD from Singapore, because I always wanted to go in academia. But in Singapore, there are two universities: National University of Singapore and Nanyang Technological University. And to become a faculty there is much more difficult. And I also tried postdoctoral fellowship, which is generally required, when you want to become a faculty in the institutes. Then they also require postdoctoral fellowship. But at that time, due to certain family restrictions, I didn't get the postdoc as soon. But I did get the job in industry. So I tried that. And what I realized, that it has something to do with you only. I mean, you have a lot of options, but when you do these, for me, definitely, I felt that learning as a learning industry was really good for me. But uh, I actually love to be in academics, and that's why I decided to come back. And as far as for PhDs in academia is concerned, like in IITs or NITs, if you want to become a faculty, then for faculty positions, you have to think that in your PhD you have to do a very quality research. And don't have to just think that you have to complete a PhD in certain time period, because you have to publish good quality papers. So that plays an important role if you want to apply for a faculty position in of IITs, in NITs or IITs. More than that, you have to work on your teaching skills. That is very important. Sometimes people, they just think that only publishing research papers is important, but teaching skills is one of the major thing which is looked upon in the academic institutions. Because at the end of the day, teaching is our prime job. It's our most important job. And I have to teach UG students, and these UG students are coming from qualifying IIT JEE examination, which is the biggest examination of India. So basically, we have to develop those skills of presentation skills and teaching skills. So in your PhD only, I will say that that is why TA-ship is important, teaching assistantship is important. So in some institutions they do it seriously, like in IIT Bombay I have seen, we used to do TA-ship very very seriously. In some institutions they are not doing that, but I will say that to the PhD students, they certainly should help their supervisors, and they should go to the lab. They should interact with the UG students. They should try to teach and develop those skills. And I think in that way they can better put themselves in this market, as you say. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to say one more thing. As far as getting government job is concerned, the entry level is Group A level for an graduated engineer. Okay, so if we have to enter into that, the basic qualification required is bachelor's in civil engineering. If you say essential is, I said, the master's in the engineering degree. And having PhD, for a person, a student must be completing the BTech degree at the age of 21 or 22. they'll take 2 years for completing MTech. By the time they are going to complete PhD, at least 5 more years you have to add. So by the age of 27, they will be applying for government job and getting the government job at the age of 27. And a person who has just completed the BTech degree also will be working, applying for the same thing. Both will be considered at the same fashion. You are not, there are no lateral entries in the higher post. The post is the lower post only, you have to enter into the job. So while doing the PhD itself, you have to decide either I have to do the PhD and what I am going to do. That you have to decide. And in some organizations, some kind of lateral entries are there in 1 or 2 levels up, but that depends which organization you are applying for. So sometimes PhD also can be a disadvantage as far as getting job is concerned. For academia, of course, it is an essential qualification for to be an academician. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you, Dr. Chitra. Thank you, Dr. Akanksha, especially the point you touched about being able to teach and being able to present, I think is very important. There's another question that has sort of arisen in my mind as we are going through our discussions, and I'll make that as my last question. Is about all this while that we've talked about, I think there's somewhere an important person that we need to find, the anchor or the mentor for ourselves. And that is something that I think every individual has to think over and research over on their own. Dr. Akanksha, can you tell a little bit about what this has entailed for you? Who is, how did you go about finding your mentor? Did you find one? And also, if there are any other professors who have joined us from the academia, how could you guide us as to how we can be mentors for the younger generation coming in?
Dr. Yogini, can you please again elaborate your question? Are you asking me how did I choose my PhD supervisor? Or
not necessarily a PhD supervisor. I think what I have gathered in all the discussion that we've had in the past 45 minutes is that somewhere, we either it would have been nice if we had a mentor, or that we have, all of us, probably you have had a mentor. No, it could have been in the form of your PhD guide itself, or it could be somebody else, but who sort of was guiding you. Did that happen? And if not, I think it is an important thing that we should have. So I would like you to elaborate on that, since you're in academia, for the students, or even maybe somebody who's joined, who are professors, how they can become a mentor for students. That they may not be their direct, students who are doing their PhD under them, but they still can be an example to them.
So, as I say in all my, whenever I do my lectures also, I tell students that if you want to ask me a technical question, please ask. If you also want to ask question which is not technical and regarding your career options, please ask me. And not only me, all the faculties who are available, they are happy to help students, because I think as academicians, most of us like talking. And so that's why, I also like to motivate people, train people. So for me, if I go back, I think uh, during my masters, my supervisor was Professor Ashish Juneja, and he quite encouraged me to look outside for PhD, not only in India, but to he encouraged me to go to abroad. And when I went to National University of Singapore for my PhD, then my supervisor, Prof Lee Fu Hao, he actually yeah he was my mentor, and he's still a mentor. We are actually now also, if I need to like ask something, if I have some good idea, I discuss with him. So having a good mentor is also a very I will say I'm fortunate that I have such a mentor that now also if I want to discuss something, I can discuss with him. On professional fronts as well, I means we have senior faculties at IIT Roorkee, and I will say that IIT Roorkee, civil engineering department, it's so wonderful department, and the senior colleagues I have in our department, they are so helpful that whenever we have some problems, like I will not say problems, but some new questions, like collaborating with industry or writing a research grant, then they are always helpful. The thing that I would reinforce again what Dr. Chitra said is, interact, and interact. So when you interact with people, people will definitely help you, and they will also be act you as your mentors. Definitely, as a bachelor student, I will tell you, you don't just interact with your seniors, because sometimes I feel that sometimes they tend to develop the herd mentality, and they don't know about the lot of opportunities which are available for them. So I will tell students, you go out and you talk to your the faculties who are teaching to you, and I think in that way you will also find your mentor like I did.
So,
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Akila.
yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
would like I know we have another question, but in continuation to what Dr. Akanksha said, we have one question from our audience, which is quite relevant. So she said, Dr. Ashish, Professor Ashish has encouraged her to go and pursue masters abroad, PhD abroad. And there's one question from Meeraj Thakur, who's asking, post-graduation from abroad or India, what is the major difference between both in respect to professional career? So he or she is asking our views on this.
Okay, see, I'll say that if you want to do MS, then you have to think it in your third year of your BTech. And if you want to do it in India, you have to decide among yourself first that you want to do it in India or you want to do MS abroad. Well, if you want to do it in India, we have premier institutions, and I don't think they are, we are like if you see IIT Bombay, ISC Bangalore, IIT Chennai, all IITs are doing wonderful research, and in that way you can choose either India or abroad. Abroad, I'll say that you have to do a lot more homework. For masters in India, you have to give gate examination, you have to prepare for interview. But for if you want to do masters in abroad, you have to give GRE or you have to give TOEFL apart from this technical thing that you are studying. Then you have to write SOPs, you have to write the proposals, and you have to contact the faculties out there. So you have to do more homework, so you should be more vigilant in your second year or third year itself. And the thing is, there are both advantages and disadvantages. See, when you are in abroad, if you want to get a job in abroad, it is easy for you to get if you have done MS from abroad, or if you have to do PhD from abroad, then it is easier, a little bit easier if you are already in abroad. But the thing is, you have to put in a lot of money for your master's degree in abroad, because generally for MS degrees in abroad, they don't provide scholarships. I mean, most of the institutions don't provide scholarships for MS, so you have to work on some projects, or ultimately you have to do job there so that you can pay the loan. So basically all these financial aspects also you have to keep in your mind. So that's what I have to say.
Dr. Akanksha, are you saying I would like to extend this question. So how does it position you in the world market, or that's how I understand this question, with respect to professional careers? So if you do a master's from India or if you do a master's from abroad, so does doing a master's from abroad position you better in this industry or in academia compared to someone who has done the same degree from home?
I'll say that if you have done your masters from IITs or ISC Bangalore, then it's almost equivalent, as I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And if as far as job is concerned, yes, in like if you want to get jobs abroad, then definitely if you are doing masters from a university abroad, you'll get job easily there. Like in US, if you are doing masters in US, you will get job in US. The
Yeah,
thing
that's
is,
because, is that because you're more versed with the codes there or the practices there while you're studying there, or why do you, isn't there a choice of like if you studied in India and you would want to work somewhere else too to gain experience?
see, apart from this course and knowledge, it has also to do something with the visa. We shouldn't forget those things also. So when I was working in Keller, that visa thing is also kept in mind. Yeah. So but I have seen, I mean, I'll say that nothing is impossible. I mean, I had my senior working in Keller who was from IIT Madras. So people from IIT Madras were there who were working in Singapore, who were working in Malaysia, and many of the graduates from IITs are working abroad. It is how you do for yourself. So you have to build yourself. You have to connect with the people, and I think you don't have to just rely on the placements of your university. You have to do something unconventional. So I think everything is possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that is correct because eventually, maybe initial push might be, based on the university that you pass out from, but eventually it is what you make of yourself and how much you work professionally in the field. You're being up to date with knowledge and things like that. So it's not necessarily just only the passing out. College, university being very important. Uh, okay, I will go to the next question, which is again this. What is the scope of numerical modeling softwares in geotechnical engineering in India in the future? Do we see a scope for that? My personal opinion is that yes, we do, but I will ask the panelists to comment on it.
Yeah, numerical modeling, of course. Why should we talk about the future? The past was also bright, and the present is too bright, and the future is going to be well bright, beyond bright. That's what we can say. And numerical modeling, the softwares, what you want to analyze as far as geotechnical engineering concerned, what you want to do. You want to do limit equilibrium analysis, you want to do finite element analysis, or you want to do finite difference analysis. Depending on that, which problem you want to do, soil foundation interaction you want to do only the foundation analysis you want to do, or the structure only you want to do, depending on what you want the analysis you want to do in numerical modeling. Many softwares are available, simple to complicated one, including the inducing the seismicity, original seismic conditions. You can feed into accelerogram itself, you can feed into your analysis, and seismic conditions also you can analyze for soil foundation interaction, you can analysis that too. So, but that depends what you want to do. Entirely it depends on what problem solution, what kind of problem you are finding a solution for, depending on that. So if we have to code it, if you have to use the finite difference method of analysis, you can use UDEC for 2D solutions and 3DEC for 3D solutions. And if you want to do limit equilibrium analysis only, you can use the stability of slopes using the slides or geoslope. If you want to do seepage of through the dam body or any water retaining structures, you can use SeepW through the geoslope. Like that, we can name many softwares. Many softwares are available only thing what you have to, I have been disseminating my sharing my experience in the field of numerical modeling also in geotechnical engineering. But what I say is what the geometry you are going to exactly make it, and what is the kind of input parameters you are going to use. The solution and the output you will is entirely depend on what you are going to create and what are the input parameters you are putting. How much the input parameters are reliable, that depends on that. But it is still, we are working on it. There's the post structural behavior you can see while the structure is being constructed even. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
I definitely agree with what Dr. Chitra said, is that we can do wonders with numerical modeling. Nowadays there are so many softwares available, but one thing is, I'll tell to the students and the practitioners that, and also the young researchers, that don't use these softwares blindly, because it's like garbage in, garbage out. So basically, and there is so much to learn in this finite element, because finite element is a like, it's kind of huge course in itself. And last semester only I introduced this finite element modeling in geotechnical engineering, which is running in our department for master's students. So in that course, our basic idea was to tell students more about the constitutive models, about the basics of finite element methods, so that they are not using the softwares blindly. They know that, that those default parameters which are there, they are also affecting your analysis. So basically you can do wonders, you can simulate the most complex problems. The thing is, basics are important. Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Go ahead, Akila.
I would like to take another question from, this is not exactly a question, but from Priyadarshini Manyan Rajan. She says, sorry, I am a research scholar. Apart from technical advice, I feel that we need emotional advice and motivation. So he or she is asking us to advise on this.
Well, can I answer this?
Yes, good.
Actually, you rightly said that, emotional advice is most important when you are doing PhD, because PhD is a lonely journey, and sometimes it's only you and your supervisor and your computer or your experimental setup. So there are many phases of when you'll go in depression, or I'll say there will be many lows. You'll have to stand, you'll have to, control your mind, you have to be self motivated, on your toes. I think in NUS we had these counselors, especially for the PhD students. So whenever we had problems, we were free to go to the counselors and share with them. In IIT Roorkee also, I know that there are counselors. What I think that in India, students are a little bit hesitant on going to these counselors, because it's like kind of thing that, are you not mentally strong or thing. But I think you shouldn't think that way. You should always go to these counselors. I don't know if in your university there is, but every university should have. You can also talk to your administrator, like a person who is at the administrative post, to have this counselor in your institute, and you should talk to them more often. And apart from this, I think you should go, and if you don't have a counselor, then I think motivational videos will help. Sometimes yoga also help. For some of my PhD friends, they used to do yoga, and they used to do meditation, and it used to help them. So Dr. Chitra may add more.
Yeah, I agree to what Dr. Akanksha said, but what my advice would be, being a very senior to the students, having this much experience, I take an advantage to advise my own students, I'll call it as. Yeah, while doing BTech even or MTech or PhD, you get disheartened because you have to work, and work. So working and concentrating on technical know and how of what you are working, it gets a lot of dissatisfaction as well if you don't get the output, proper output. And if your guide is not happy, again you are disappointed with what you have worked, and you may start hating yourself also. But you just leave that moment. That is momentary only. Forget about that moment. You work on either meditate, or you start, if you like gaming, you start doing concentrate on a intelligent gaming. Number games are very good for engineers and sharp brainers. So you can work on those, and where you can think, concentrate your mind to a single work, and you have to train your brain. Nobody is going to come and get you out of that problem. It is you, purely you, who will be getting out of it positively if you try. So get motivated yourself also. You get motivated by the mentors also, but you always do. There is no phrase like impossible. You divide that into I am possible. There is nothing in this world which exists which you cannot do. Believe in that. Believe in you. You can do it. You only can do it. You can get the output out of yourself. You can do it. That is going to work wonder. You just say it to yourself when you are demotivated by some happenings or some words of somebody. Don't get disheartened. You say, I am possible, I can do it. There is nothing in this world which I can't do it. I'll find a solution to it. Not today, yes, tomorrow is a new beginning for me. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to get the results. You will get the results. That's what I can say, the advice to those kinds of students.
Professor Muttaram from Anna University, she says, this Anna University is in Chennai, that they do have exclusive student counselors. Thank you, ma'am, and welcome to the session. Yogini, ma'am, please go ahead.
I have one question from, I think, Hemvati Jampani. And she says, please let me know what we should learn or to do, be updated with latest available technologies or techniques in geotechnical engineering. Is software knowledge must to excel in the field of geotechnical engineering? Should I repeat my question?
No, I got your question.
Okay.
Yeah, if you are specializing in some kind of subject, say we are all geotechnical engineers. If you are working in a field, always you should have a thrive for getting information about what is new in our field. What all if you are in a research, what is the research which is going on around me, around the world? How far the world has reached? Because I have to go from where the world has left. I have to go beyond that. I don't have to repeat what is being done already. I have to catch from where that has been left. So for that, what is new? If you talk about the geotechnical engineering, you have to search for getting a simple grain size distribution curve. What all the testing methodology I have to do? Is there any technological development in that? So that is a simple test. You may not be asking for consistency limit. Is there any apparatus developed by any student or any academician or any practitioner? Or what is happening? Earlier we used to have the proving ring and the dial gauges for measuring the stress strain. doing direct shear or triaxial shear. So there are a lot of advancements in that also. They used to measure that pore water pressure which is coming out while the loading is going on. We used to measure it in the burette, but there are called as volume transducers. But the latest technological advancements also has pros and cons. Like I said, while using the softwares in the numerical modeling, you should know about the equipment also. Which kind of equipment is having advantages and what is its disadvantage? Pros and cons you have to know, and how the my parameter which is determined by using that equipment is affected with the way of testing in that equipment. That also you have to know. How you will come to know? You have to read. Reading is, and you have to go through the literatures also. How this equipment works. So is somebody is having the bad remarks on this kind of equipment or not? And if it is there, what is that? And if I have to use numerical modeling is not mandatory. That is a separate question I'll be answering. And latest technological advancements, nobody is going to come to you and tell you this is the latest technology available, you can make use of this. No, it is you who had to search for that technological development in that. For that, you have to interact with your fellow geotechnical engineers and the manufacturers as well. And not only Indian manufacturers of the geotechnical equipments, even abroad, they have very wonderful equipments that you have to search for. So if you want any particular thing, you can share your knowledge with others, you interact with them, get an idea about what is the technological development happening. And for being a geotechnical engineer, it is not mandatory to know numerical modeling or working with software. But if you are adding softwares and knowing about the softwares and using working in the numerical modeling also, that is going to add your value only as a geotechnical engineer. That's what I can say.
Dr. Akanksha?
I think Dr. Chitra has wonderfully
Should I repeat the
summarized.
question again?
No, I know the question. I
Okay.
think Dr. Chitra has already answered it well. So I just agree to what she said.
Dr. Yogini,
Okay.
I would like to...
Akila, do you have any more questions?
Yes, I have one question. This is not from the audience. We still have some questions from the audience. Sorry, because it's already time, but I would like to ask a question on behalf of all of you. To both of you, is learning beyond classroom, is it completely the student's responsibility? So this would be our closing question. Please do let us know. So is the learning...
Repeat the question?
Yeah, is learning beyond classroom completely the student's responsibility? What is your comment on this?
No, my response to this question is learning from the classroom itself is not enough. It's not at all enough. Throughout this discussion, I said, you open your ears, you keep your eyes open, and you read, and you interact with the people, and you get enriched with those discussions, good discussions and reading. You get the knowledge through reading and interacting with the people. Not only your fellow students also, if you are not interacting or discussing with them, or you just ask them simple question, what is this equipment is about, then just start the conversation, then you will never come to know where that conversation is going to end and what it is going to give you. So that is what you have to interact, you have to study, keeping your eyes, ears and mouth also open.
So adding to what Dr. Chitra said, yes, rightly she said that students have to keep their minds open. They don't have to follow the herd. And if certain group of seniors, they're writing some exams, they don't need to follow that. Okay, so particularly they have to read, interact. Adding to it, I think, yes, certain responsibility lies with the educators and with the industrialists as well. And therefore I really appreciate the D Foundations Institute of India, the Women in D Foundations group, for organizing such kind of activity, this kind of platform. Because you can find a lot of YouTube videos on data sciences, and some examinations, and doing some kind of artificial intelligence and robotics as well. But for civil engineering, I feel, for geotechnical engineering or for PhD, you don't find lot of motivational videos. And that's why sometimes the PhD students say that this is, I think, one of the major reasons why sometimes PhD students, they feel they are lonely, and sometimes they feel depressed, because they don't have enough motivational platforms or something like that. So I really appreciate these efforts of D Foundations Institute of India Women in D Foundations group. And certainly it is the students responsibility also to educate themselves, to make them aware outside the classroom, but it is our responsibility also to make them aware. And I'll say to the students that you just reach out to the faculties, to your mentors in the organizations, and you should interact. And I think in that way you'll get to know about more opportunities in the world of civil engineering or geotechnical engineering, to be very specific.
I love both of your answers. I'm a little jealous that like some of the students are getting to know all this a little earlier. Like I'm happy I should have known this earlier, but I've learned it a little after masters, and later I've learned some of these things which we discussed here. I'm happy. Thank you. Thank you for your answer.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having us here in DFI. It's a great opportunity given to us. Thank you.
And yes, as I'm already, this is like I'm just starting my journey, so giving me this platform, I'm really thankful to the WiDF group.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chitra and Dr. Akanksha. I think this was a very inspiring and robust conversation, and I did really enjoy the perspective of Dr. Chitra, who's been in the industry for so long, and inspiring so many others, right in her class, and mentoring so many. And also perspective from Dr. Akanksha, who has started her journey recently, and how her interactions with her students has been really amazing. Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you, Akhila and Dr. Yogini, for moderating this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would like to leave all of you with the webinar 3 that will be coming up in March. We are working on confirming the speakers. This is going to be another great webinar for students who want to know what is construction industry like and construction of your future. You will get to learn a lot about it. So keep tuned in. You will know soon when it will be in March, and see you all in March for webinar 3. Thank you so much. Thank you, DFI staff and DFI of India staff. Thank you very much.